Hello, everybody. Thank you for stopping by. It's now episode 3 of Hello Again with Isabelle Broom, so called, obviously, because of the book. Very inventive of me, I know. I'm joined today by Holly Miller, author of The Sight of You, which, if you haven't already read it, is an absolutely beautiful, breathtakingly beautiful book, which has been published into God knows how many territories now. We're going to talk about that, and has sold film rights. So, I mean, amazing. Thank you for coming to join us, Holly. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm doing really well, thank you. Yeah.
Very
Just
glowy.
Oh, thanks. Just kind of starting to get to grips with lockdown kind of coming to an end and thinking about how to re-emerge into the world.
Yeah, we're recording this just before the big Saturday, aren't we? Where we're going to be relaxed. So there's definitely a sort of air of excitement versus anxiety, I think, going through most people. Like, is it just going to be a free-for-all drunken lunacy in the streets?
Yeah,
I think it's actually going to be no different at all.
Yeah, there's definitely some trepidation, I think, and everyone's kind of waiting to see what's going to happen tomorrow, I think, which will be, like you say, the big day when it's, make or break, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not really on my radar. I'm quite a sad person. I like drinking wine alone in my living room, to be honest. Watching Netflix is a lot cheaper than going to the pub.
You're not going to be banging the door of the pub down anytime soon.
And I don't have to wait for a drink. I can just pour one. Great.
So much easier. So much easier.
Right. Do you want to start by telling us a little bit about The Sight of You?
I would. Yes. I've got a copy here.
Show it off. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, with the lovely copper foil on the title, which is
no less
lovely. Yeah, so The Sight of You is a love story about Callie and Joel, and they both meet at a point in their life when they're kind of going through a hard time. And Joel has a secret, which is that he dreams about the people that he loves. And these dreams, he can see the future. So they're good dreams and bad dreams, and he never knows kind of what's coming next. So he kind of vows to himself that he's not going to fall in love. It's, too much trouble. He's always too worried that he's going to have a horrible dream about the person that he loves. And then he meets Callie, and of course they fall for each other pretty hard. Joel tries to kind of keep his distance, but he fails, and they kind of fall in love. And then Joel ends up having the dream about Callie that he's always dreaded. And the story is kind of then about how they kind of navigate that and the decisions they take. And it's definitely a bit of a weepy, so tissues may be necessary.
I was going to say, it's such an incredible premise, just that sort of ellipsis at the end, and then he has a dream about her, and it's just goosebumps, isn't it, immediately?
Yeah.
What gave you the idea to write this particular story?
Well, it sort of came to me it didn't really come to me as a fully formed idea, but I first had the kind of nugget of the idea, I suppose, when I was having dinner with friends and with my husband, and we were kind of at that point in the night where you start coming up with all these kind of ridiculous hypothetical scenarios, and one of the questions was, if you could know the date that you were going to die, would you want to know? And it was kind of, obviously a bit morbid, but it was one of those evenings. And I was really surprised by how quickly the table kind of split between people who were saying, no, I definitely wouldn't want to know. That would be like a ticking clock. It would be the worst thing I could think of. And then people who were saying, they would definitely want to know. They're big planners. They'd want to tick things off a bucket list and kind of see everyone that they wanted to see and see all the places they wanted to see. And I definitely fell into the no, I wouldn't want to know camp. But it did get me thinking about how it would be really interesting to kind of combine that with a love story. So that was kind of how I started thinking about it. And then as I started writing, the idea kind of grew and took on different forms, and it became, you know, about is it better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all? And yeah, that it kind of grew from there. It definitely didn't sort of come to me fully formed, but yeah, that was kind of the start of the idea, I suppose.
Because falling in love is always a risk, in some regards,
Oh,
isn't it?
yeah,
Of course, it's worth it. Like all the best things in life, the scariest
exactly.
things,
Yeah, and I think the book is definitely on a lot of levels about kind of the bravery it can sometimes take to love another person. And yeah, I think there's definitely strong elements of that throughout the book. Yeah.
It's so amazing, and you've had some incredible accolades. I mean, Jodie,
Oh.
wow. That kind of goosebump moment for you, like a pinch me moment to get sort of endorsement quotes from heavyweights like
Yeah, I'm absolutely. When I saw that email, I was just like, my editor emailed and said that Jodie had said lovely things about the book, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, that's just so amazing. You know, first of all, you know, she must be so incredibly busy to put the time aside to read, and then to say such lovely things was just so flattering, and sort of, yeah, just such a goosebump moment. Yeah.
And it's huge relief as well. So I don't know about you, but I get such anxiety around, because you spend such a long time, don't you, in a book? You're so absorbed that you lose the ability to see it objectively as a reader would see it in any way or form. So you just, when it goes out, you really don't know what the reaction is going to be. And
Absolutely.
I tend to always think, this is wrong with it, this is wrong with it, this is wrong with it. And I'm quite hard on myself. But I think that's quite common of most authors, actually, that I speak to. They seem to be quite about the whole thing. So.
And I think that process starts, I mean, it started even earlier for me, because even when I just finished writing the first draft before I got a publishing deal, I was like, I kept saying to my husband, I'm really not sure anyone's going to like this. Just, maybe it's too off the wall, and maybe it's just, like you say, you're sort of, when you're writing, you're in such a bubble, and I hadn't shared it with very many people at all, so I didn't really have any gauge or sense of how it would be received. And then I obviously got the publishing deal, but then there's that whole other level of sending it out to peers and hoping that people are gonna love it. And even though obviously other editors had loved it, sort of in foreign territories, it was still oh, is any other writer here gonna like it? And then there's the whole, are readers gonna like it? And it's definitely a sort of process of self-doubt a lot of the time.
It's like when you get dressed for a party, isn't it? Like you buy a new dress and you put it on and you're not sure, and you think, I think it looks right, I'm fairly confident, and your mum goes, oh, you look lovely, or your boyfriend says, oh yeah, that's really nice, but when you walk into the room and everyone looks at you, you still think that some people are going to go, oh, that dress is awful. It's that same feeling that you just, and that never goes away, sadly.
That is such a good analogy. That's exactly what it's like. And it seems to just have all these kind of have all these levels throughout the process of being published that they feel like hurdles sometimes that you've got to kind of overcome all the way through. But I think like you say, once you kind of learn that that's part of the process, and you just accept that that's kind of the way you're going to feel at some point, throughout the process.
I think if you didn't have that anxiety, there'd probably be something wrong.
Definitely, because I think it's kind of that whole kind of adrenaline, sort of, because it kind of makes it even more special. Then if you're doubting yourself a bit, it makes it even more special when people come back and say they loved it. That feels even more exciting.
Let's talk about the sort of publication, the road to publication bit, because it's been absolutely nuts in the best possible way for you. Remind me, how many territories? Is it more? Is it 23 or is it more now?
I think it's 23 now. That's incredible. It's amazing.
And film rights?
The film. That was just that was probably the high point of the whole thing for me, because that was another point at which I was thinking, is anyone really going to be that interested in this? You know, is anyone really going to like it? Is anyone going to see movie potential in it? Because I when I was writing it, that was the furthest thing from my mind. You know, I didn't really. I do obviously see certain scenes and the characters in my mind when I'm writing, but I definitely didn't necessarily think this is movie material, you know. Yeah. That was just such a pinch myself part of the process, you know, talking on the phone to producers, and yeah, that was just I just kept thinking, this can't be happening. And I actually when I had quite a few conversations with different producers, and I had this I was very unprofessional, really. I'm so glad they couldn't see me, because none of it was video call, it was all on the phone, and I had my phone crooked under my ear and I scribbling all these frantic notes while I was talking to people, and I had several pages in the notebook just full of these kind of manic notes that I'd scribbled when we were talking kind of about visions for the film and stuff. And I tore them out of the notepad, and I thought, I must keep these forever because when I'm an old woman, I want to look back and say, that was kind of the height of my career, really, because this is probably never going to happen again. And, you know, I kept reminding myself, you've got to enjoy every part of the process, because this is just this is a moment in time, really. And yeah, I'd say the film was definitely, I mean, it's all been incredible, but the film option was, yeah, very, very exciting.
There's a tiny part of your brain that thinks it might be possible one day, or it, you know, the book falling into the right person's hands at the right time to kind of happen.
And I think a lot of the time stuff like that, honestly, it just happens when you're least expecting it. Like, I really wasn't expecting that to happen at all. And, you know, I mean, like I say, I was even questioning whether really it would get a publishing deal, let alone everything that happened afterwards. So I think, it's nice when you're not expecting stuff like that for it all to kind of fall into place.
Yes, even more so, I imagine. Otherwise the disappointment is too much.
Exactly.
And there's a reason why publishers never tell authors that things like, oh, we're going to put you forward for Richard and Judy, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that, because they can't, you know, the disappointment is too crushing. It doesn't
they can't handle it.
A lot of the time we're in the dark about stuff, but for good reason. I'm like, no news is good news as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely.
How did you find, because obviously you published in hardback a few weeks ago now.
Yes.
How was it being published in lockdown?
Yeah, it was fine. It was obviously a bit strange and kind of not how you imagine it. So obviously I couldn't go into Waterstones and do all that kind of thing. But we did go out to Tesco, because it was stocked in Tesco, or is still stocked in Tesco. And we unfortunately didn't find it in Tesco on that first day, but I have found it in Tesco since. And then we had a couple of Zooms with various people, so it was I could catch up with everyone that I wanted to catch up with and raise a glass with everyone, but there was obviously no big party, but in a way it was kind of nice that it happened like that, because obviously the lead up to publication day is kind of, as you know, a bit crazy and quite hectic. So it felt a little bit like I'd been holding my breath for a few weeks, and it was a bit like releasing a held breath. It was kind of like, oh, it's out there now, like this is the part I can really enjoy. And, you know, obviously the lead up is obviously always a bit of a concerning time, so I think just reaching that point and thinking, okay, I can relax now that the book is out there and this is the fun bit.
And at least, I mean, launch parties can be absolutely madness. It's like a wedding. Lots of people come, but you don't get to talk enough to anyone. You end up spending time with the people you see all the time anyway. It's such a weird thing. And you have to
a lot of pressure.
The pressure of a speech is quite awful.
About
that all day. And
it's
then
kind of like,
yeah. So actually, it's fun but very stressful. So
yeah,
I don't
I
actually
feel
mind
like,
being published in lockdown. I'm quite cool with it. As long as people
yeah,
find the book, then that's all
yeah.
I'm worried about, really.
I always think it's a bit like a wedding when the best man has to do a speech, and I just think they must not be able to relax for like the whole day until that speech is over. And it must be pretty similar.
Definitely. It's the hardest job at a wedding.
Yeah.
I wonder how editors feel about it, because we share an editor, don't we, Kimberly?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Yeah, and she's very good at public speaking. She isn't, but she is very good.
Yeah.
At my first launch, I was hiding in the corner, and she was like, "Right, speech time," and I was like, "No, I think we should just leave. Let's just leave. We'll go and have dinner." And she was like, "No." She really told me off. She's like, "No, you must do this. All these people are here for you. Get up there and do it. Come on, let's just do it." And I really needed her to sort of yank me by the collar.
You need that support. I think especially if you're not like public speaking day in, day out, it's definitely feels like more of a big deal than if you're quite used to doing it as part of your job.
Yeah, I can do it, if I'm presenting something but for work or something like that, I don't mind it. Or if I'm hosting something like this, with a Zoom full of people, that's fine. But when I'm talking about myself and my work, I just feel like a massive imposter, like got a big like neon arrow going, "This person is a faker." Like or something. It's really weird.
It's when all the eyes in the room are on you, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's what makes a difference.
Yeah. Actually, when I go to other people's launches, I'm always like, "Are you going to do a speech?" Because I really like speech. Yeah, I'm so bad. I should take my own advice. Who would you say then are your biggest sort of literary influences, in terms of other writers?
Well, I would say definitely David Nicholls. I want to say obviously David Nicholls because I feel like everyone would say David Nicholls because he's just amazing, and One Day is one of those books that will just stay with me forever. And I also loved Us, which was the book he published after One Day, and his recent book Sweet Sorrow was also amazing. So I love David Nicholls. Sally Rooney, I love Sally Rooney. I would hesitate to say influence because that would make it sound like I would be anywhere close to what to the writing she produces, and but I love her writing so much. And I loved both of her books. Probably I love Normal People a little bit more than Conversations with Friends, but I'm just so excited to see what she writes next. And then one of sorry,
did you watch Normal People on iPad?
It's just
good, isn't it?
extraordinary television.
I just discussed Paul Mescal's Skies, but let's not do that.
A
different type of video.
Let's just say I just have no idea how they did that. Really, it was just incredible. It's just incredible television. And and then when I was younger, I read a lot of Lisa Jewell, and I love her because she obviously had a slight change of direction in her kind of writing style, and I love both of her kind of genres that she's written in. And Mike Gale also was a reader I read a lot, writer I read a lot of when I was younger, and still now his recent books are just incredible. And
he's another one that makes me cry.
Oh, so much, so much. And I haven't read his latest one, which is, I don't think it's been published yet, but I can't wait for that to come out.
No one sent me a proof. Hint.
Oh no!
I want
it's harder, isn't it? I'm sure you can get your hands on a proof.
Yeah, I can get hold of one.
Oh, and Rosie Walsh as well. I absolutely love her writing, and I think I saw that she is writing another book at the moment. So I can't wait to see what she writes next. She's a bit
caught up with the illness and then having another baby.
Yeah. Been a busy time, I think, for her. But
I feel like she's in the centre of a whirlwind constantly. Like she never seems to stop.
Yeah, but I just can't wait for her next book. That will be very exciting to go to read that.
Kind of agonizes, and she finds the process quite difficult and reads so effortlessly, as if sat down that day and put pen to paper, and that's a real talent, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's what I find with David Nicholls' writing. It just, even though it's not easy, he makes it, his writing makes it look easy, and that is just such a skill, I think. Like, it just reads so effortlessly, and that's kind of that's what always strikes me when I read his work. It's just so, it just flows, and you just think, how are you doing this?
It is, isn't it? And then people often ask me, like, what's your favorite genre? Because I read books as well, obviously. And I always just say good writing. Like, I don't really mind what I'm reading about, as long as the writing's good and I care about the characters. I don't really mind. I mean, obviously, sometimes you're in a mood for, like, just a really quick psychological thriller, really meaty, really that sort of heart-pumping stuff. But then sometimes you want something a bit more measured and nice or cozy, I dare say.
I completely
like the word
agree.
cozy when it comes to fiction. I know it gets bandied around, but I think a lot of the books that are classed as cozy aren't cozy. They have nice things happening, but they also tackle really serious issues. So
I completely agree with that. And I think, you're so right about not being choosy about a genre, because I think, like you say, good writing is good writing, and it doesn't really matter so much what the genre is, as long as there's a compelling story and characters that you want to kind of follow their story. And I mean, I think the only genre for me I probably wouldn't read is horror, because I'm quite like,
it's good. You're not a Stephen King fan?
I'm not. I think I just get terrified really easily. Like, it's the same with films. I would never watch a horror film. Any kind of level of gore or violence I can't deal with, but that's not at all like anything to do with the genre in itself. It's just my personal kind of, I can't deal with anything terrifying. I'm a bit of a wimp.
I hear you. I'm a properly scream at horror films. Like, I used to live with a couple when I lived in London, and our thing was to kind of watch a horror film, and we'd have jacket with beans and coleslaw and cheese. We'd watch like the worst, most scariest horror films that we could find, and I would literally scream my head off to the point where the dogs were in the room. But it's kind of, when you know that you can control, like, fear is quite a fun emotion in a way. Scared feeling when you know actually that it's all right, it's just a film. Like, it's been like that watching the news though lately, hasn't it? Like that same feeling.
That same heart pounding. Oh God, what's going to happen
now? Honestly, things like Poltergeist would probably feel like light viewing after the news. Like, oh, that's fine. That's just an angry ghost. I can deal with
that. Maybe I need to take that approach more. I'll try it with my next film that I watch.
Love stories that people are so drawn to in fiction.
I think it's something that people turn to when they want some comfort and some kind of hope and positivity. And I think definitely at the moment, certainly for me, I feel like I'm turning to that kind of thing more and more. I'm kind of looking for love stories and that feeling of positivity that you get from reading that, and optimism as well, kind of restoring your faith in the world, I guess, that kind of sense of that. And I kind of think that old saying of all you need is love, I think yes, that's quite an idealistic view of the world, but at the same time, at the moment, I think that kind of approach is kind of what I need at the moment. And I've had a couple of messages from people who've read The Sight of You, and they've said, I want that. I want what Callie and Joel have, and I want to find my Joel. I just think it's the loveliest thing, and I think if you can get that from reading a love story and kind of get that sense of optimism and hope, then I think that's a wonderful thing. And I think, you know, it's a little bit of escapism at a time when I think it's really needed.
Yeah, the real world is not a nice place at the moment for reasons. Even if you take lockdown out of the picture, there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah,
it's never been more important to kind of reach out and gather as much love to as you can and give as much out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think
clean way, clean, safe way.
Yeah.
Don't go live with strangers. They don't want that.
Yeah.
Save that up.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Right. Before we go, we're going to do quickfire. But before we do quickfire, I want to talk to you about your dog, because I'm a dog person. But you've got a rescue dog called Meg. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
How did she come into your life? Because that's a love story that I'm fully on board with.
Oh, she is. So she's a rescue dog. So we had recently, before we got her, we'd lost another border collie that we had, and my husband had another border collie before that. So he's kind of had border collies in his life, throughout his life, really. And so we thought we want another border collie. She was a rescue. She didn't have a very good start in life. She just turned 1 when we got her. And she definitely, if anyone's familiar with border collies, they are a tricky breed. Yeah. She definitely had a few quirks when we got her, but you know, we just wanted to kind of give her a better life, and I definitely think she's got that. You know, she's living in the countryside with us, and she's getting loads of long walks, and she's just, she's loved, and she wasn't loved before, I don't think. So yeah, she's happy, and she's now nearly 12. So yeah, we've had her a good while, and yeah, she's just kind of part of the well, we're a little family of 3.
I think dogs and writers go really well together, actually.
They do, and actually we're quite lucky
for thinking, and we like to sit for long times.
Yeah.
and dogs are like, I like long walks, I like to sit around.
Yeah, I like thinking time. She's quite lucky because obviously I'm at home because I'm writing at home, and my husband's at home at the moment as well because he's working from home. So she's just got company all the time, which is lovely. And she's I mean, we're lucky as well, really, because border collies can be quite hyperactive, but she's not at all like that. So she's really chilled in the house, which is really good. She's not, you know, she's a pretty laid back kind of house dog, really. I mean, she does go a bit crazy when the doorbell rings, but yeah, she's pretty chilled, which is, for a writer sitting in one place all day, it's she's a very good companion.
Crazy when there's a knock at the door, or like,
she'll
make a new friend. That's what they say. Someone else that I could fall in love with immediately as soon as I see them.
They're brilliant, aren't they, dogs?
Can you imagine? Maybe not sniffing other people's bottoms when we first meet.
Yeah.
Some of the traits of dog definitely could learn a lot from, I think.
Yeah.
I definitely sleep like my dog, like on my back, like
just out for the count.
Arms in every direction. Yeah. I think that's what he's learned from. Right, let's go on to the quick fire.
Excellent.
Super fast, sort of either or questions.
Okay.
I'll do a little drum roll. Hang on. Right, paperback or Kindle?
Oh, place for both, but I'm going to say paperback.
Yes.
I like to see things on the shelf.
Yes, good. Mr Darcy or Mr Bingley?
Oh, Mr Darcy.
Oh, really? See, I always go Bingley.
Really?
I'm
loving I'm liking the moody, brooding kind of vibe.
I can't bear men that take themselves too seriously, so it's all about Bingley for me. Rich enough. I don't need all the money. Just a bit of the money would be nice. A bit of the money. Right, beach holiday or city break?
Oh, again, room for both, but I would say city break, because I think I can get a little bit bored on a beach, even if I am reading.
Yeah, good.
Like to have things to look at.
Yeah, when I was younger, it was all about the beach, and it was all about tanning and nothing all day and then partying all night. And now I'm like, oh no, I want to go to bed by 10, so I'm going to be out all day looking at stuff. Yeah, so I'm tending to go the other way now.
Yeah.
You can get the best of both. You go somewhere that's got cities and beaches.
Yeah, like Barcelona.
Yes, Barcelona, although the beach in Barcelona is an experience. Very busy in the summer.
I went there years and years and years ago in February, and I remember it being quite chilled, but I would imagine in the summer it's a whole different world.
I mean, it's a great city in that you can literally just walk through the centre and you're at the beach, and they've spent a lot of money redoing that whole area, and it's lovely. And considering the number of people, it's pretty clean as well. So I've been to some beaches in places like Sicily that have actually turned my stomach because they're vile.
Oh no!
All those pictures.
Such a shame.
Beach, I was like, that's nothing compared to Sicily. Imagine that about 100, and you've got an idea of the rubbish. Oh, horrible. Okay, beer or wine?
Oh, wine.
Wine.
Every time.
Red
Yeah. I can do either, and I'm actually very partial to a rosé.
Yeah, so, both. It's rosé time of year.
I'm cool.
I know, you can not sit in a pub garden, sit in your own garden.
Yeah, exactly.
Enjoying a rosé while watching us discuss books. That's the dream. Really. And last one, Twitter or Facebook?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I'm gonna say my heart says Facebook, my head says Twitter, just because Twitter is just, there's like only 2 or 3 buttons to worry about. With Facebook, it's a lot more in depth, I find. So yeah, for work stuff, my heart would say, my heart says Facebook, but my head says Twitter's easier.
I like it. And they're different things. It's like cats and dogs. Yeah. Like, why don't I have one? I can have both.
Yeah. There's a place for both.
So remind us again, hold up the book so everybody can see if they've tuned in halfway through. The Sight of You, out now in all good bookshops and Tesco.
Yes.
Go and get a copy, read it and weep, literally. Day, while looking on the internet at rescue dogs that you can adopt.
Yay!
And
don't feature a dog. Yeah.
Let us know, Darcy or Bingley, because I'm all the way for Bingley.
all about Darcy.
Right. Thank you, everybody. Here's my book as well, just in case you wanted to buy that one. That's also out in all good bookshops and Tesco and some other places. Yeah. Or you can get it on for 99p on ebook, which is cheap.
And it's a brilliant read. I've just finished it actually, and I absolutely loved it. Really, really great read. 5 stars.
Thank you. Oh, I'm blushing now. I've got really bad hair. I look like I was watching this really old film the other night. This is going massively off on a segue, but called The Court Jester, which was made in 1956, and it's on Amazon Prime. It stars Danny Kaye, and it's like a spoof of Robin Hood. It's so weird. But that
sounds really niche.
All the people in the palace, where all the men wear these wigs that are basically stuck on hair, and it looks like this. Essentially, that's my hair, Court Jester hair. But that's a full recommendation for you to finish off. But yeah, we should go because I'm obviously gone into like talking nonsense. So yeah, thank you everybody, and I'll see you next week for episode 4.